What up, people? It's your boy, Master Chudy, out here with a review of Masters of the Universe. Now, I know that this particular show has caused a lot of fervor, it's caused a lot of issues, and I'll be the first to say I can understand why. Because this show is bad. Or the first five episodes of this first season is pretty bad. And the thing is that it didn't have to be bad. And I'm going to take out, the aspects of Kevin Smith pulling his shenanigans because I think it delves even deeper than that. It delves deeper into this issue of this show being bad. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, or in this case, the Masters of the Universe, could have been a good show, but it's on an objective stance, on a writing standpoint, it's really bad, terribly bad. And even if you didn't know the characters beforehand, some of the actions that they take are very questionable. Makes you think, why? Why are you insulting my intelligence? Why are you doing this or why are you doing that? And for somebody who wanted to deliver an epic, it doesn't even have to be like, oh, it's going to be an epic He-Man story. Just it was going to be an epic story in general. This just falls short. And because it falls short, nobody's really defending this show. Nobody's going to bother defending it. And, this is going to be kind of what a semi review of everything that this show is about. I mean, the show, the first season is 5 episodes, or the first half of the season is 5 episodes, so it's fairly quick to get through them. I watched these episodes last night, and after, finishing them and having the night to sleep on it and marinate, I maintain my initial stance on this. It's an objectively bad show. Um, Basically, the premise is that Magic and Eternia is fading away. Get the gang together. Let's do it. Um, but I'm going to go with the questionable aspects of it. Basically, one, um, was at first killing He-Man off. That's the number one thing, first and foremost. The first time. We'll get into the rest later. Um, the first episode of this show was not even necessarily bad. In fact, the first 2/3 of this episode was very good. It felt classic. The intro was spectacular, and first of all, I'm never going to complain about the animation. Powerhouse delivers all the time on their animation. Um, Seismanos, Castlevania, Blood of Zeus, you name it. They are killing it in the game, and so they deserve to be praised for their animation. Whole crew should be happy. But storytelling is another aspect altogether. So basically, Skeletor gets into shenanigans. He attacks Castle Grayskull. Get everybody to come in and fight to defend Castle Grayskull and the sorceress, because Skeletor has discovered what he deemed to be his true prize, and everything like that. And it was well done. I will have to say, one of my first gripes in this whole thing was that there really wasn't enough Skeletor, and I don't think they diminished him in any fact. I thought that it's Skeletor. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He still has his bombacity. I mean, he's not like his 2002 counterpart, who was a little bit more serious, but he was still pretty cool. And it's Mark Hamill, so Mark Hamill's always going to bring it. But um, you know, after everything that's happened, He-Man basically the whole magic is about to explode. It will wipe everything out basically, and He-Man decides to make the decision, sacrifice himself. But during the whole sacrifice, he has to use his power sword as a conduit to draw out the energy basically. And it's through there that Teela discovers, Adam, Prince Adam was He-Man, and of course that follows the original story where only four people knew of at Prince Adam being He-Man. The Sorcerers, of course, Man at Arms, Orko, and of course, Cringer, aka Battle Cat. So, what I find interesting is that, and this is where it kind of takes the turn for the bad. After the whole battle, it's found out that He-Man is he's died basically, and he's dead along with Skeletor, and everybody's mourning for He-Man, and the mother. Prince Adam's mother and this whole thing. Obviously she found out prior to the episode. She hints that she knows that Prince Adam is He-Man, and so the king is mourning for He-Man, but then his wife is saying we've lost our son, and he's like, no, Adam is fine, and then Man at Arms says that I'm sorry you had to find out this way, and the king kind of I mean, grief. I get it, but at the same time, this is so out of the out of the ordinary and everything like that. Out of the ordinary. And so the king just gets crazy and he says, "Oh, I'm man at arms. I strip you of your rank and I'm banishing you from Eternia. Get out." And so man at arms, being a loyal soldier to the crown, says, "Okay, if that's what you wish." And the king tells Tila that, "Hey, get this disgraced man at arms out of my sight." And this is what I initially thought was going to happen. Tila says no, and I thought that Tila was going to leave because, hey, how could you do that? My father fought. Prince Adam gave his life for the cause, and my father had his reasons for keeping his secret. He ordered my father not to tell anybody. You can't do this. You're wrong. You are out of order. I thought she was going to defend Man of Arms. Instead, we get the most 180 type of turn here that all of a sudden, oh, um, I was lied to. Adam lied to me. Man at Arms, who I consider my father, lied to me. The Queen, you knew, and you didn't seem to tell any of us. And then you, the King, are going about. But she just started blaming everybody. And then and you know what? I'm pretty sure she was like, well, because it was her big day, she was going to be the next Man at Arms and whatnot. And so she just starts going off on the rails, and I'm looking, I'm confused. I'm like, what is this? What are you doing? How can you do like? Your friend gave his life for the kingdom. Your friend sacrificed his life to save yours. And you decide to come up and basically, more or less, trash him, trash your surrogate father man at arms, trash the parents, the king and queen who just lost their son in battle, who gave his life for the kingdom. You're just going to start making this about you. And they all just sat there, stood there, and took it. And, Tila decides to say, I'm done with the kingdom. Like, you know what? Screw the kingdom, screw the crown, screw my position. You know what? Everything is your fault, and you're all liars. I was never part of your family. And you just begin to wonder, like, why? Why, Tila? And so she leaves. And from that first episode, there is no salvaging Tila's character because she doesn't change. She's become a merc. And the thing is that it would make sense if this was in her character, but it's not. It really isn't. And it's a shame. It really is a shame. It's a real shame. I mean, the episodes come and go. You know, yeah, in episode two, we see the effects, magic is diminishing. And like I said, and a lot of people have mentioned this. The idea of magic leaving Eternia and causing Eternia to crumble from the inside out without magic, and then technology coming about and taking over as the new, how should I say, status quo or the new way that people want to operate. Because even from the earlier 2002 He-Man, the 80s He-Man was beyond my time, but the 2002 reboot of it showed that, and even now, that magic and technology, which in He-Man kind of coexist, and you have like a techno sorcery type of world, which I always thought was one of the more interesting, unique parts of He-Man, that technology and magic coexist, and in times they work in tandem, or those who are good at magic are good at magic, and those who are good at tech are good at tech, but they work together. And even Skeletor's crew was made up of those who relied on technology and magic, with Evil Lyn and Many Eyes and all of that type of stuff, and Trapjaw, I think that's his name, and whatnot. But we see in the second episode, hey, yeah, technology's taken over, but we get I think her name is Andra, who's she was apparently a redhead, she was white, but she's been race bent. And the thing is that um, I didn't necessarily dislike Andra. I mean, she could be grating at times, and her dialogue was mad, but there were times where you could appreciate her being like the audience stand-in, and she brought a certain sense of levity. At least, and she has her problems. No, she definitely has her problems later on. But there are times where I could say, you know what, I can like you. I can like you. And you know, her and basically Tila have this type of people say friends, but I see it as more of Tila as a apprentice, and I mean not Tila. Tila as a master, and you know this Andre as an apprentice, and you know they're in the game and whatnot. That's just how I saw it. That's how I see it. But it is what it is. Um, you know they're out here sailing, stealing artifacts, but basically you know Evelyn has been disguised, and you know she sends them on jobs, and they recover like a goblet, and you know she's been told that hey, the sorceress has sent me to grab magic to basically infuse it to her to you know keep magic because this is the last you know or this is the last orb of magic left, and so they say that there's a way they can bring magic back, um, and you know hey, we're going to have to reforge the sword of power and then split in two. One's in Subterranea, the other one's in Pretania or Pretoria. I'm not, I can't believe I forgot that. Basically, the underworld and paradise. And so she knows that okay, there's only one person I know who can forge a sword. They go and find Man of Arms. And Man of Arms, you know, at the beginning, they don't believe it or not. Man of Arms is not really disrespected in this particular show. Capable fighter, compassionate as he's always been, fights for the people. He's out of the kingdom and everything like that. But we see him getting attacked by these acolytes for technology led by Many Eyes. And, you know, we see that basically, you know, Tila and the crew save Man at Arms with, I guess, Beastman. Please help me correct these names if I'm wrong because I'm not heavy into the lore of He-Man. Even though I've watched the 2002 one, but it's been a while, maybe I'll watch it again. But we see that you know, they all come together, and we see that you know Beastman is pretty much helping them out because of Evil Lyn, because he I guess likes Evil Lyn and whatnot. So after all of that, you know, they go to Man of Arms and they say that hey, we need to go to Subterranea and you know and forge the sword, and you know, and he refuses, saying that you know I can't abandon the family I have here. And so we see Roboto is around. But we also see Orko is there, and Man at Arms is the one who's helped him out, basically, um, delivered him some magic because there are little pockets and streams of magic that people are actually struggling to keep a hold of, you know, magic to help them out. Which would also once again create a great plot. You know, magic is like a commodity apparently. Magical ether, I will call it. It's like a commodity. People could have been also fighting over magic as a resource, as a supply. The issues that could delve off of that. There was so many different storylines that Kevin Smith could have chosen from, but he refused to do it for whatever reasons. And so, you know, um, Tila's still going on about like, you know, when they even met, man, I'm saying, "Oh, Tila, please forgive me. I need you to help me out and do everything like that. If I can make it up to you." And you know, Tila's still like, "If you really want to make it up to me," as if Man of Arms owes her anything at all. Like this, Tila begets. You can't. It gets harder and harder to like Tila in this show, and for a show that was marketed as you know He-Man show, and you don't have him, and you have Tila, the least you could do is try to make Tila likable, have the audience root for her, but you don't have her. You don't. The audience can't root for her because she's insufferable. But anyway, at the end of the day, they decide to make the journey to Subterranea. They tell Men at Arms to go to Castle Grayskull to defend the sorceress. To which you know I forgot to mention, Man at Arms says that oh the king has forbidden anybody to go there, but there's little or no protection at Castle Grayskull, so anybody can literally flout that order anyway. So what was the point of that? For the plot to just easily move forward. And so, you know, Orko also decides to go despite him kind of, you know, weakening because of the lack of magic. And it's even affecting, of course, Evil Lyn because they're all into the magic, and with it in the short supply, you know, they're all They're all basically they're all basically less powerful than they should be. And what I find interesting, and I'll get into that later. But fast forward to the plot. To go to Subterranea, everybody has to fight their fears. We get we kind of got interestingly, and you wouldn't expect it, and I'll give the show props for that. Kind of a good heart to heart, which sometimes came off as cheesy, but then the original He-Man was also cheesy. Was that Evelyn and Orko were kind of having a good friendship, a good banter, and he was kind of softening her, making her kind of like a nice person or a tolerable person. But each of them had to delve into their fears and everything like that, and Tila is having this fear of, about He-Man saying that, oh yes, yeah, yeah, you're insecure because I couldn't trust you with my greatest secret, which makes no sense at all. For Tila to be insecure that she couldn't listen to one measly secret, and yes, it's a big secret, but that's his burden. He was chosen, and he has the responsibility to let people know who he is and how he operates. And right now, the sorcerers and man at arms were kind of his mentors, and he decided to let them know. And then, of course, Orko found out by accident, and then of course, Cringer obviously is by his side, and he gets the upgrade when he goes to go as He-Man. So hey, that's that as well. But she fights her fear, and they're in Subterranea. They're about to escape, but Mr. Fearman, I guess the guy who controls the whole Subterranea, who I initially thought was kind of like a morphed out version of Skeletor, but isn't, goes ahead and basically says, "Hey, I'm not letting y'all go." But then Orko decides to fend them off, fight him off, basically because he encases all their legs in stone, but Orko has no legs; he can float. And so he fights off, this guy, and he manages to save them all. He says he's not afraid anymore, and that was actually one of the more heartfelt moments of the show, where Orko sacrifices himself, and Evil Lynn tries to help him, tries to simply say he can't do this alone. She tries to use her magic staff, but there's not enough juice in it to power her up. And so, they're all safe and they make it to Paternia, which is the heaven aspect of the whole He-Man part. And so, you know, we get another head-scratching scene that makes you look at Tila very stupidly. And, basically, Andra, this is where she gets, and correct me if I'm mispronouncing her name, man, but Andra basically says that, what did you do? So how could you let him how could you let him go by himself? And she's like saying, I tried. I tried to help him. And she basically says not hard enough, which baffles me because she doesn't have she is not at 100% power, which makes absolutely no sense. Like she cannot if she had wanted to save him, he would have. She would have, basically. She would have. But she did not, which makes absolutely no sense. It's yeah, Anja, that's her name. My gosh. You're like she couldn't. And then Tila goes on a tangent saying, yeah, this alliance was a mistake. Like, yeah, we knew we should have known better, and we're gonna do what we do, and I know how to deal with this. And it's like she wants to basically take her down right there. Then like Tila, do you not get that she tried to save Orko's life? Like she tried, but no. They then see Prince Adam there basically, and so that kind of luckily cuts out a an unnecessary fight. And Orko's burial or memorial, as they gave, was very nice. It was very good. It was very quiet. So they find a way to basically go in, and they have Adam has the other sword. Miraculously, he has the other half of the sword. So they say, okay, we're going to forge the sword, do everything like that. And so part of it, you also have King Grayskull, who apparently was race bait. But I'll say this: it's me. I, he seemed to have a certain level of charisma. Just I liked him. I liked King Grayskull. It was pretty. He was cool. But we get into the to the freaking meat of this final episode where, my gosh, Tila is still pressing the whole thing about my goodness, you didn't tell me your secret, and how could you do this? And now, and then the guy's like saying, "Look, I'm sorry, but I had to do what I had to do, and and it's like I couldn't even be mad at you. And Tila's like, I couldn't even be mad at you. I couldn't blame you. And he's like, I died. I say, yeah, and we all had to live with it. What type of language is that? As if your death was a bother for the rest of us. He wasn't like a villain. He wasn't somebody who released some plague and then died, and the secrets died with him. He died saving Eternia, and he still gets flack from Tila for it. And so, they find out that the process to reform the sword could be dangerous. And Roboto goes in, he takes the last beat of magic and forges the sword, but it also kills him as well. So Roboto and Orko are dead as well. And that one was kind of it was kind of also, I want to say, heartfelt. It kind of felt bad because, especially from the voice acting of Roboto, I felt that was pretty good. But the sword is reforged. They have a way to get back to the Tower of Grayskull in Preternia. And Adam is given a choice, saying that, hey, nobody's ever gone back from here because it's paradise. You have everything you want, and there's no reason for you to go back. And we've died, and it's our time to reap our rewards here. And they said that if you die again somehow, again back there, you will be part of the ground. You will be part of the dirt, as Mossman I think says that you will not be back here. And you see, what baffles me is that the show showcases Adam's struggle and his heroics. And he says, you know what? I'm going to do this, and I'm going to fight for Eternia. And as he tells Tila, which is a common thing, wherever you go, I go. Tila says to Andra, He-Man said it to Tila, Adam says it to Tila again, and you see that Tila's like, Tila, you hear this? And you hear what a friend is telling you, basically. But hey, they make it back to Castle Grayskull with Man at Arms, and Many Eyes cult group is attacking, but Man at Arms comes in and they blow it up, and everybody's got the sword. And once they see that, hey, He-Man is kind of back, they retreat, and so that's the end of that cult. It was almost of no consequence except to move the plot. And so, with the sword reforged, Adam has everything. They're in the magic place, and the energy is coming. Lo and behold, I forgot to mention this. There's a skull. There's a skull of Skeletor. Basically, the goat skull of Skeletor's staff remained intact. It was used to transfer magic. And when the magic is going about, Skeletor goes ahead and reforms. And as he's about to say, by the power of Grayskull, I have the swap, stabbed in the back, right to the chest. They killed Adam again. And, I will say this, you know, Skeletor, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's just me, but I don't think he was, made to look like a fool. He got what he wanted. He's a villain, the mustache twirling villain, but he is conniving and cunning. So I thought that scene, as dumb as it was from Adam, makes sense for Skeletor if he wanted to win. And he just said, you know what? Yeah, during that whole explosion, I knew it would probably kill me, so I had to seek refuge in your staff. And, I had to seek refuge in your staff until the time was right. So it's like, you did good, Lenny. That classic Joker Mark Hamill. And so, you would have thought after the whole attempted growth he put into Evil Lynn for 3, 4 episodes now, you would have thought her to say that because she was trashing Skeletor. It was a fool to follow a man with a dangerous man and a man of power. And I could have had power, but then I was foolish to follow Skeletor and whatnot and whatnot. And then after everything and after Orko's death, she just said, I was growing fond of you children. And Andre's like saying, what is wrong with you? Which is what I do agree. Like, all of that talk, you are all talk, and you still ended up going to Skeletor again. Now, people might argue that and you probably have an argument. Yeah, she's lacking on the power. Well, in fact, no. Like, she just got her power back. Maybe she wants to get more power. Maybe she'll betray Skeletor again. Who knows? But she really never did. Or Skeletor doesn't know. But we don't know. We don't know. And so she just goes back. Adam is dead. And I will say though that yes, this ended on a cliffhanger. But Skeletor, at least I could say, you know what, that was kind of cool. Skeletor picking up the Sword of Power and saying, by the power of Grayskull, I have the power. And then he becomes this god Skeletor, which I thought was pretty badass on Skeletor's part. But it ain't saving these 5 episodes of half a season. And that's it. I don't get what happened at all. It doesn't make, once again, it doesn't make sense. The characters, all of them, but especially Tila, look terrible, like almost terrible people. Like they're terrible, terrible people. Their flaws outweigh their pros. I've already stated about Tila. Tila is insufferable. She's selfish. She's abrasive. She's not. She has no compassion. She immediately abandons her duty off the smallest things. You're a soldier. You work. You lead men. You know some things are on a need to know basis, and you freak out when one secret is kept away from you. And I'm surprised you didn't bother to be more inquisitive about where Adam was, and maybe you could have figured it out. I mean, you can do anything in this show, but no, you are Tila is a terrible person. She is a terrible, terrible person. And for the life of me, I don't get why that's being propped up like it's some type of good thing. She's a terrible person. Um, Man at Arms was kind of good, but he didn't need to just bend over backwards, say, "Oh my lord, I'm sorry." He doesn't fight for his dignity. And to make matters worse, his own daughter basically says that he's a liar. But once again, he's also a soldier, and he's the man at arms. And Adam, being He-Man, was kind of a military. You could say it was a military kind of national security secret. And those who needed to know needed to know. Not even the king and queen knew. Maybe they should have known, but the queen obviously found out. And also decided to say, you know what, I'm going to keep silent. That was her decision. People made their choices. There were consequences. What they don't need to be done is have somebody high road them, like Tila did. And Tila never recovered from that in the whole show. Like I said, of all those negative qualities, she also seems to be motivated by money, which, yes, you got to scrap a living, but at the same time, that makes no sense at all. And then the whole thing about your fear, that the only reason why you're insecure is because you weren't trusted with a simple secret, makes no sense. And it makes you look weak as a character. Andra, up and down, there were good parts about her where, her being, an engineer, her being excited about working with tech, her being awestruck with seeing heroes of Eternia's past, being a fangirl without being, too embarrassing was actually one of the nicer aspects of her character. But then at times she would just be Tila's yes woman at times, which makes no sense at all as well. So she's mixed for me. Um, some of the Evil Lynn is another one where, okay, if you're going to have her do something, commit to that. And if you're going to have her do a bait and switch, you can't just bait and switch in 5 episodes because that is extremely jarring. There's not enough to flesh it out. We don't see any conflict. You would seem that she doesn't seem to be conflicted about losing Skeletor. You would have thought that, if she really despised Skeletor, she could have at least, at the very least, live up to her word and went her own separate way if she didn't want to support um, Eternia or the warriors of Eternia. But no, after trashing Skeletor and saying, "Oh, dangerous men are this and dangerous men are that," and don't go with the dangerous men, and Skeletor is a fool, Skeletor is that, she blindly, without hesitation, just said, "Hey, I'm with you, Skeletor." Yeah, she's a villain, self-preservation, but with all of that nuance that you were trying to show, that just looked weak. extremely weak. Terrible. Indeed. Just terrible. Same thing with the rest of the characters as well. The only good characters, you can say, was Orko. And if you wanted to say somebody had the spirit of the 80s show still around and mixed in with the 2002 one, it was Orko. Orko never changed at all. And I think a lot of people liked him. He was still the same fun loving, kind of bubbling magician who kind of had, you fleshed out his backstory. You did it well. And, people liked him. I liked him. I thought he was good. And, his sacrifice was, unfortunate. Same thing with Roboto as well. But that's that. I'm pretty sure you can tell the flaws of the character. But we get to the writing aspects. This felt like, as somebody mentioned, that the first episode of this season one felt like a season finale because oh my gosh, all of a sudden, Adam and Skeletor are gone. They're done. They're finished. Kaput. What is Eternia going to do? That's a season finale. That's not we're beginning the season like this. Well, we've lost the one of the main characters of the show. Yeah, and it's not like this is a build up to like there's a middle of a war happening, going a little bit back to the past and what He Man does. No narration of He Man on He Man's side, basically. That could have been a season finale. And much like how this is supposed to be, the first 5 episodes are one half of season one. The fifth episode also ended like a season finale. You killed Adam again, and Skeletor has the sword of power, and he's now God Skeletor. What can you do? What can you do? My goodness. And once again, as a writing aspect, you focus on Tila's insecurities, which was a terrible weak spot when you should have been focusing on a larger environment. Magic is gone in Eternia, barely around. It's a finite resource. People still want it. How is the whole universe, He-Man's universe, or the world of Eternia surviving? Everything is in chaos. You could have worked with that. You now see the rise of a new sect. Technology. People are now going to technology saying that, hey, we can survive with technology. We don't need magic. They're becoming more machine like. In the case of the extremists like Many Eyes cults, could have focused on a war between technology taking over. In addition, internal strife between magic, in between those who want to keep magic and are trying to fight for these magical resources. Kind of had something like that. In addition, after that, no reason to get rid of Many Eyes because I know that now that Skeletor's around, his whole crew is probably going to come back. You could have also said that, hey, Many Eyes wants to be a player, and I have the technology to boost myself. Who knows? Maybe that will happen. I don't know, but I have no doubt in my mind that when he sees Skeletor, he's going to just rush back and do what he's going to do. But whatever. What can I say? Oh my gosh, so many waste. It's more like wasted potential, which is why I'm not focusing on Kevin Smith because everybody can say that he lied and he did all of this and he did all of that and he ruined, the lore. He didn't respect the lore, disrespected He-Man fans, Master of the Universe fans, and whatnot. BSMA. I'm here to focus on this is just terrible writing. It's bad. It's very, very bad. And you have essentially, to be quite honest, He-Man wasn't butchered. If anything, you butchered Tila's character in the hopes of propping her up. You turned her into, and I'm going to take my reference from the 2002 He-Man. Tila was very confident. And she was, very young. She was like a teenager, but she was very confident. She wanted to be a man at arms. And, her father, who was Optimus Primal, Beast Wars, if you don't know, was all for her, joining her, fighting. And the thing is that she had experience. And the thing is that when He-Man came in the center and he was the forefront of everything, she kind of wanted to meet his expectations. Like, hey, oh my goodness, this powerful warrior, because I believe she lost to Skeletor more than she could chew. But then she was like, hey, I've got to up my game. I've got to work. But it never killed her compassion. She was proactive, compassionate, wanted to be the best of the best, wanted to serve the kingdom. She was still a great friend of Adam, and they would have adventures together. And when Kevin Smith says, I'm going to bring in the spirit of He-Man. The flashbacks, which were also very good in the show, should not be the reason. That should not be the here's my evidence for bringing and invoking the spirit of the '80s show. You don't do that. So, man, you can see why people are quite angry with Kevin Smith. Rightfully so. Fans of the show. But even if you're not a fan of the show and you watch this, you can easily just look at this and saying this is not a good show. And it's a real waste of the powerhouse animation. I hate to say that. After we've gotten bangers upon bangers from Castlevania, from Seis Manos, from Blood of Zeus. Heck, man, even though heck, if you wanted to see a powerful female character on the animated scene, please watch Tracy. That was a great show. That was a great show. But yeah, I've rambled long enough, and I'm sorry for that. But thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notifications to make sure you're notified. Once again, I'd like to review animated shows. That's my thing. And this is kind of, an objectively bad show. So, yeah, thank y'all for watching, and, I hope to have more videos up when I can. Peace.